And I'm your host, JT, along with Mr. Islander, Double A.
Welcome, all my friends, to the show that never ends. And I'll hand it off.
And, of course, the heartbreaker, Mr. Mike Hart.
I like to know everybody. I dressed up the background, little Ranger emblem, and
I'm going to have to paint the wall after he's done.
making the basement look a little more presentable.
Oh, boy. Look at that, Double A.
Yeah, it's killing me.
He's ruining the paneling down there.
He's destroyed it. I'm gonna have to move. I'm gonna have to move now. I can't have it.
So let's get right to it.
I moved all my prisoners to another cell, so I was able to get the emblem here.
Yeah, that's what we do.
Let's get right to it.
Anyway.
Let's talk about the Rangers first. And we can't score any goals here, heartbreaker.
Nope.
We haven't scored any tonight either against the Devils. 0-0 after one.
A lot of chances tonight so far, but again,
DeAndre Miller out. So Brendan Smith is in tonight. The Rangers have scored 2 goals in the last 181 minutes and 23 seconds of playing time. So let's start with that, Mike.
The offense sucks, John. And it's pretty simple. They are so down the middle. They are the worst team in the NHL. With Mika playing so poorly. And again, I know he's trying. I know he's playing hard. But you have to score some points here. You know, different things happen.
And he moved Buchnevich to the third line tonight. You know that.
Yep, absolutely.
Blackwell's been moved up. So he's not happy with the way Buchnevich is playing. He wants him to be harder on the puck. I like to see the kids with Strome. I feel like that's a line that might spark. And Kakko had a good first period, if you saw it.
I did. And Strome, but again, with Strome, it's which Ryan Strome are you getting? Are you getting the consistent Ryan Strome or the Strome that goes 6 games without scoring?
It's just to me, it's like they got to find a way to score points, and the power play's been terrible. You know, they move the puck around great. It's the question of getting shots through. That's the deal with the power play here. So.
That's because they're putting too much pressure. They're trying to get the perfect pass, trying to get the perfect shot. They have to just calm down, put the puck to the net. Simple hockey. That's how you score a greasy goal. You know, that's why you have a Blackwell up on the first line in the beginning anyway. You know, when you have the role players that are generating more offense than your star players are.
Yeah, like we said, the third and fourth lines have played really well for this team.
Okay.
And Double A, give me an outside view here.
The outside view is pretty much the same. The same view. It's the same view that you two guys have. They can't score. It's amazing how your third and fourth line are creating more chances than your top 2 lines are. And look, we've criticized Zibanejad, and rightfully so. We've criticized Kreider, and rightfully so. We've criticized Strome. We've criticized Buchnevich. Right now, you got to add Lafreniere and Kakko to it. I'm sorry. I know they're kids. I know you're expecting a good future with them. Lafreniere has 1 point. He has 1 goal. Kakko has 3 points. Kevin Rooney has more points than him. Now, it could be that, look, sometimes it takes kids to develop a little longer. Look, we've said it before. Sidney Crosby scored 2 goals in his first 11 games. And Lafreniere has drawn the comparison to Sidney Crosby. Now, if he has the career of Sidney Crosby, you guys are fine. But right now, it's just adding to the problems that they have. It's not like they're not getting chances. Zibanejad in that Boston game, the first time they played the Bruins last week, he had 2 breakaways that last year he scores on. He scores on those
Definitely.
2 chances.
Yeah.
But he's not now. And now it's like it's starting to filter through the rest of the teams. Zibanejad's struggles are starting to filter through to other people.
The problem with this Ranger team is they are so weak up the middle. Now, you're right. Kakko and Lafreniere have struggles here. But who do they play with? You're playing with Brett Howard. You're playing with Ryan Strome tonight. And Ryan Strome is a below-average second-line center in the NHL. Just is. And without Mika Zibanejad providing the offense that I mean, God, he has 3 points. What number one center in the NHL has 3 points after 13 games?
He has struggled. There's no doubt about it. But I understand what you're saying where he's played the kids. But the kids, and right now, Lafreniere, he's got to take a hit here. He's got to take a hit. This is a first overall pick. He's got to try to do something. He's got to create. Sometimes you got to make your own shot.
He's by himself right now, though. And again, they're playing tonight with Strome. They played the other game, the last game, a lot with Ryan Strome. Maybe that will help. I'm not sure. But right now, it's hard to put it on the kids because who the hell are they playing with? Who the hell have they played with? Again, they're so weak. This is a fundamental flaw with the Ranger team. They are so weak down the middle. And with Mika playing so poorly, they're by far the worst team at the center position in the NHL. And you're not going to win when you're that bad. Just not going to happen.
You really miss Needle here. You really miss him.
Yeah.
You know, and
I agree with that.
And he's no Strowman either. He really isn't. He's a kid. But again,
he's a kid.
And he's
a kid. He really is.
They're just missing. Look, Lafreniere, again, is 19. Kakko just turned 20. It's a lot to expect for them to carry the water right now. Just is.
Mike, you're not asking them to create, to carry the water. You're not asking them to carry the water. You're asking them to help you carry the water. Take a glass. You know, I mean, I understand what you're saying, but these are kids that you need, that if your future is bright, these kids have to start contributing. And I get it. I understand. Yes, Strome has been terrible. Go ahead, John.
You can't, all these 3-goal, all these 1-goal losses. You know, we bitched about the defense for how long? You know, it's really not the defensive problem here. I think, especially the Boston game, both Boston games, they went toe-to-toe with the Bruins. They hung in there. The goaltending was pretty good. It's not the goaltending. And I thought that they played pretty well against Boston.
They did.
In all 3 zones, you know.
Just started to play very well the last 4 games. He's found his niche here. Georgiev still struggling a bit. Not the same goalie that he was last year. The defense has been awesome. Listen, I mean, the kids, Miller's out tonight, we know, but Miller, Lindgren, Fox, they've been tremendous. Trouba, not worth the $8 million by a long shot, but he hasn't been terrible. The forwards are playing good defense. They're getting back. They can't put the puck in the friggin' net. You're losing games because your power play sucks. You're 0 for the last 14. This team, I don't know what to say anymore. It's the same broken record with them.
It's difficult because the thing that we thought would be a problem for them, which was the penalty kill, has not been. They've been good killing penalties. But it's like you said, the power play is a problem. The power play is a problem, but
the whole offense is a problem.
That's it. I mean, the whole thing is that the guys that you depended on to carry this team offensively right now aren't doing it.
Mika Zibanejad, Pavel Buchnevich, and Chris Kreider have not scored an even strength goal since January 31st.
That's a problem. You know,
that's definitely.
It's tough.
That's definitely.
But they got to figure it out. Because right now you're not getting any help from anybody soon. I mean, I don't know how far Cheadle is from coming back.
He's probably a week to 2 weeks away.
All right.
Again, they haven't really discussed his injury.
Oh no,
Panarin and Miller are both day to day. So
Cheadle had a 4 to 6 week timeline, so it's been 3 weeks. The thing with this team that's so frustrating is if you would have told a Ranger fan that the defense would play this way, they would expect the Rangers to be 7-2, not 4-6-3. I mean, it's just it's frustrating because as much as you want to say, the kids are going to get better, then 2 years from now, this team could be one of the top teams in the entire league. But down the middle, they are woeful, and there's nobody coming up from the minors that's gonna change this. This is scary. The Rangers have to decide: do you take the wings, which is a strength? Do you take the defense, which is a strength, and try to deal to get somebody to help out Zibanejad? And Zibanejad has been terrible. So I don't know what to tell you here.
You got to think about putting some pieces together, maybe. It's one of those things.
You got to figure something out. You got to figure something out. Because
they're going to figure out something quick because in March they have 16 games in 29 days.
Yeah,
with the schedule.
The schedule gets really packed the second half of the season, and you're going to be playing a lot of games with not a lot of rest time. A quick turnaround. It's going to be hard, but the biggest problem is that you have to find offense, and when Panarin's out, it just hurts your offense even more.
As much as this year, you don't want to punt another year away. You don't want to punt. The rebuild has been accelerated by lucky lottery balls and a couple of good trades here. But you look at this team and you look at the center position. If Mika Zibanejad is not playing like a top center, you're not going to find the offense. I'm sorry. Ryan Strome is dependent on Panarin. Without Panarin, Ryan Strome is Brett Howden. He's a journeyman. He's proved to be a journeyman.
At 26.
But he is who he is. Listen, he is who he is. Give him credit. He can play great with Panarin. I mean, really, he deserves a contract. But he can't produce by himself. He's proven that. He's proven it with three different teams. It's not something that should come as a surprise. The problem is, again, they're fundamentally built in a weird way. They've had luck with the lottery, but they picked a right wing and a left wing. They've been able to draft pretty good defensemen, really good defensemen. Obviously, the trade for Adam Fox from Carolina, excellent. But down the middle, look at other teams. Look at the other good teams in this league. Tell me where the Rangers match up with them down the middle, especially when Zibanejad's playing this way. They don't. They don't even come close. They can't win a goddamn faceoff.
You look at the top centers in teams that are in our division right now. You just look at that, and that's scary. You got Bergeron, right? You got Backstrom.
I mean, Philadelphia got Couturier. There's so many, and they're all playing at either pretty good to very good levels here. And Mika has 3 friggin' points.
And you got our buddy Anders Lee.
I mean, Anders Lee's a great power forward. And you know what? He's solving that secondary scoring problem for the Islanders. But right now, Joe, if you can you put the Ron Duguay tweet up, because this was a very interesting take. I'm gonna read this right now so everybody can follow along here. So, Mr. Duguay, after watching last night's game, good English, against a bigger, more physical, well-coached team, the Ranger organization needs to really understand moving forward that playing nice hockey with too many soft players is not going to take them deep in the playoffs, ! Or in it. Thanks, Joe. So the Rangers, according to Ron Duguay, noted tough guy, are losing because they're soft and they're playing nice. What the fuck does that mean? If you've watched the games, Mr. Duguay, the Rangers are not playing nice. They play toe-to-toe with the Islanders. They play toe-to-toe with the big bad Bruins. physical play is not the problem for this team. Why don't you go ask Brendan Lemieux if he doesn't play physical? Why don't you go ask Kevin Rooney if he's soft? Why don't you go ask Jacob Trouba that he put the Bruin defenseman into the boards and almost knocked them out if they're playing nice hockey? Moron!
Nice hockey. I never heard Mike say that before. Nice
What's the
hockey.
one who posted that goddamn tweet? So I'm going to ask you, I'm going to ask Anthony, what the hell? I mean, Ron Duguay, you could not be more wrong. You're a bitter ex-MSG employee, and you should be an ex-employee with a friggin' take like that. Now I'm going to ask I'm going to ask John, I'm going to ask Anthony. Do you agree with Dugay's take?
I don't
John,
agree 100% with
you
his take.
texted us with it. I don't know. Do you agree with that?
No, I don't agree with that because the third and fourth line have really played well. And it's not a problem of physicality, not a problem of being soft, if that's the word you want to use. That's not the problem.
I'm not using it. That's the word he used.
I know he used it. And I'm shocked that he did use it. You know, he's a guy that came from the 70s and 80s. We had to have a tough guy on every line back then. You had to.
Joe, can you please play Ron Dugay's toughest moment?
Look at Esposito in that video. He looks like he should have been in Saturday Night Fever.
This guy's telling me that somebody played nice and soft. Are you out of your friggin' minds? This is
our buddy Frank did post two of Dugay's many fights on our page.
He missed the tussle with Dorothy Hamill though. This is such a bullshit take. The Rangers are struggling, and we just discussed it. We discussed it over the last few weeks. We've talked about the goal scoring. We've talked about Mika's problems. We've talked about the goaltending. We've talked about everything. We have not talked about toughness. That is bullshit.
It's you know what? I wanted to move into this a little bit and not really go that deep into the situation, but one of the frustrating things is a lot of guys like Dugay for his take on the game when he was on the broadcast. And they like Dave Maloney when he was on the broadcast. And they like Anson Carter when he was on the broadcast. To me, and I don't want to beat him up too bad. I don't want to beat up Valaket because I'm going to wait for Frank because Frank's going to come on next week, I think, and give more of a take on this whole thing. Talking about shot percentages and angles, if you're a goalie, it's the greatest thing to listen to in the world. But if you really want to hear how a guy feels on the ice during certain situations, I don't know if Valaket's the guy to listen to. And I want to know what you guys think of that.
Well, Valaket, listen,
Anthony, you're an ex-goalie.
He preaches to a certain choir. That's the way I would look at Valaket. But again, I'd much rather listen to Valaket tell me all these stat numbers and all this other stuff if Dugay is going to spout the bullshit that he just did. What the hell? What, does he miss the jackets that much? Is he Walt Frazier's?
He still wears them.
Walt Frazier's dressing buddy? What the hell? Again, I go back to I don't get the take. I don't get the thought process. I don't care if you're a dinosaur. I don't care if you're an old-time player.
Oh, I'm a dinosaur.
If you score 0 goals, you're going to lose. Name the year
you got to put the puck on
0 goals and you win, John. Tell me the era. Tell me the time in hockey history where a team won 0-0. Please tell me. I'm listening. I'm waiting.
No, there are no 0-0 wins there, Mike. We do know that. There are no 0-0 wins at all.
I want to hear Anthony's take on the tweet.
You know it's bad if I have to walk in and be the voice of reason here. That's the first thing. First of all, I'm watching Mike basically blow up, and the top of his head is basically hitting my ceiling. Okay. From the outside looking in, this is what I'm going to say. This grit means something in hockey. It does. Because you need guys that are going to do the dirty work. And I'm not just talking about dropping the gloves and fighting. Okay. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about guys that are going to go in the corners, guys that are going to do their role, guys that are going to forecheck, guys that are going to stand up for each other. Duguay, I don't know what game he was watching. I don't know what games he's been watching. This team has lost a majority of their games by 1 goal. So toughness and grit is not the problem. I'm going to back up what Mike said. The problem is that the Rangers can't put the puck in the ocean right now. And that's the problem. The grit, Duguay's confusing grit and toughness with talent. The Rangers have talented players that aren't playing up to their talent. Plain and simple. There's no other way to explain it. So for Duguay to come out, and I agree with Mike, he sounds like a bitter ex-employee. He sounds like a person that put a complaint into HR, they didn't listen to him, and they let him go. That's what he sounds like to me. And listen, I get
put the complaint into HR. I love it.
Look, I played goalie for a long time. And when you're a goalie in a game, the only thing you're trying to do is stop a shot, which I had a lot of trouble with, by the way. Okay? You guys played with me. I was good within 5 feet, and I would give up a 50-foot wrist shot.
Well, don't beat yourself down.
When Valaket is coming out and giving you statistics and giving you shot angles and all that, it is because the game is that now. The game has a lot to do with analytics, whether we like it or not. Look, I have killed Corsi forever because Corsi doesn't see what happens on the ice all the time. But in that respect, the numbers do mean something. So what Valaket is bringing in, he's a stat geek. We all know that. He's a stat geek. And whether you love him or you hate him for what he does, that's his thing. And the Rangers or MSG or the combination of the two decided that this is the guy we want in studio. We don't want the guy with the glorious hair to be in the studio. And
the marvelous jacket.
Well, listen, he dressed well. So did Sean Avery. You don't see Sean Avery on a broadcast, do you? No. So the thing is that toughness is not the Ranger problem. I think that this team plays hard. They play for this coach. Now, whether you like the coach or not as Ranger fans, that's a totally different issue. But they play for this guy. They fight for each other. Pavel Buchnevich got into a fight, which, somebody's got to teach him how to fight on the ice, but that's not his game.
His career,
but he did it. Besides the fact that right now with that beard, he looks like Gregory Rasputin, but that's for a history podcast. But you saw Buchnevich drop the gloves. You see what Brendan Lemieux does. Brendan Lemieux is his father. Brendan Lemieux is Claude.
Without a doubt.
Except he doesn't turtle as much.
No, he doesn't.
Brendan Lemieux does his job. For as much as you can dislike Howden at times, Howden does his job. That's their job. The problem right now, the Ranger guys that you wanted to carry the offense are not doing it. So for Duguay to say this, it didn't make sense.
I'll end the Duguay segment on this. I like Ron Duguay. I like him as a player. I liked him as an announcer. But I lost total respect for him with that tweet. And I don't see where I'm going to get it back, to be honest with you. But interestingly, that Anthony brought up Sean Avery. There's another polarizing player that we're going to talk about, and that's Tony DeAngelo.
The story that won't die. It's the story that won't die.
Very interesting article by Larry Brooks.
Yeah.
Very interesting article by Larry Brooks last week.
But he's getting flack.
I give you
He's
elaborate.
getting flack.
Let's answer. Wait, before we go there, let's answer Chris's question really quick. At what point is Quinn on hot seat? I don't think this year, Chris. But you know what? If they do struggle and they do continue not to score, he won't be with this team next year. This year, I think when you look at the Bruins, the Islanders, the Flyers, the Capitals, and the Penguins, the Rangers aren't better than them. That's just the fact. But they have to show improvement, and the kids have to do better. Anthony's not wrong by criticizing Kako and Lafreniere. But I do think there are extenuating circumstances why they're struggling. Okay, back to D'Angelo.
Yeah. This is like peeling back an onion. And the more you peel it back, the more it starts to stink. And what we're talking about right now is Larry Brooks of the New York Post, who has been a Ranger hockey writer for a long time, did an interview with Tony D'Angelo. And the interview was kind of
It was a
like, yeah. Well, listen, you remember when A-Rod went into WFAN and he sat down with Mike Francesa?
Yep.
And Mike Francesa basically cradled A-Rod, put him under his bosom, and put his nipple in his mouth and told him everything was okay. That this is a safe place for you, A-Rod. This is the same thing to a degree. I'm not comparing A-Rod to Tony D'Angelo. I'm not comparing baseball to hockey. I'm not doing that. It's the same premise, though. Larry Brooks gave Tony D'Angelo a soft landing spot. Because if you read the article, he quoted two people, two parents that Tony D'Angelo has been out in Jersey with, working with these kids. And he spoke to Mark Stahl, who right now is not on the Rangers. He's in Detroit. And Mark Stahl was D'Angelo's partner on the defense a lot last year. And listen, Tony D'Angelo had a great year. But what I got out of the article is that no one, not a player, not a coach, not a front office person, not the equipment manager, not the security guard, nobody, no current Ranger has come to this guy's defense.
Uh-oh, the goal line.
Well, it looks like the Rangers have tied it.
Breaking video.
Yes, they have. Colin Blackwell has scored a second of the season.
Colin Blackwell, first liner Colin Blackwell.
1-1. Yep.
But D'Angelo, they can forgive you for a lot of things. A locker room can forgive you for a lot of things. There have been players that had substance abuse problems. There are players that have had domestic problems. And a lot of times that locker room was your safe haven. A lot of times there were players in there to help you. The fact that no one has come to his defense backs up what we have said for a long time. The worst thing you could be is a bad teammate. And that's what I get from this. I know Mike's got a little more information on it, of what we're talking about, of why Larry Brooks is getting flack right now.
Double A, not to interrupt you, but from the studio, we do have the goal on video. We have the breaking news, Colin Blackwell's goal. I've been cued.
Go ahead.
Look at this, breaking news.
Breaking news as we're on the air.
I'm getting I'm getting the ESPN feed now. Or the NHL Network feed. Oh,
well, let's go back.
Joe said he doesn't have it.
Brock McGillis is
we did mention it.
Former minor league goaltender who came out a couple of years ago and has been, for gay rights, especially in the hockey community, which has been slow to respond to how things are changing in our society. And Brock McGillis requested a conversation with Larry Brooks in regards to the article, which he felt, and many people felt, was a softball piece. Larry Brooks blocked Brock McGillis on Twitter. Outright blocked. And that really, it sends such a bad message about the article, about Larry Brooks, who we all really respect as a writer. We all use him when we talk on the show, things that Larry's written about. But for him to do that, it's ugly. There's a conversation to be had here. I'm sorry. Tony D'Angelo himself said it in the article. He's not a victim. Goddamn right he's not a victim. He's an idiot. He's toxic. Nobody will trade for him in the NHL. The kid was fourth in the league in defensive scoring last year, and nobody wants him. And the reason they don't want him is because he's toxic. He's had a history of problems from the time he was in the Ontario Hockey League until now. He's the worst thing you can be. He's a bad teammate, and he's a bad guy. And Brooks wrote an article that made it sound like he's misunderstood. He's not. Everybody understands him. He's a dick, and that's what he is.
So you don't think there was any truth to what Mark Stahl said about him not being a bad teammate? Because Stahl did say that. Or was it Stahl's influence that kept him underneath the field?
Stahl's influence is sorely missed, especially for somebody like D'Angelo. I mean, he's a 25-year-old kid. You don't want to permanently paint him as an ass. But so far, that's what he's been. That's how he's acted. That's how he's behaved. From the time he was in juniors till now. 3 organizations. I mean, my goodness.
The whole thing, though, is like there was a podcast before earlier in the week, too, was about Nick Kyprios felt that a guy like D'Angelo's talent is that he was being blackballed. Tony D'Angelo is blackballed himself. Period. Stop.
Nick Kyprios, yeah.
Okay? Period. Stop. Because you have to take responsibility. The thing that you found out about Mark Stahl is that maybe Mark Stahl was the guy that kept D'Angelo under wraps last year. That Stahl was able to let this kid concentrate on his game. And with Stahl, look, maybe D'Angelo might be pissed off that Stahl's not on the team. That still doesn't give you a right to act the way you act. Do you realize that the Rangers are paying him $4.8 million to stay home? They would rather pay you that money and told you not to come around the team. That's mind-boggling to me.
What did Scott Gordon say? He will never play another game for the New York Rangers again.
They waived him and said he'll never play. You're paying him to stay home when you could have let him go last year and not pay him anything, which is on the Rangers.
Guys, hopefully the book is going to close on this and we just could stop talking about it because it's just not going anywhere. He's not going to another team anytime soon. Maybe he is blackballed. Maybe Kyprios is right. We don't know that.
Yeah, but John, he's blackballing himself. That's my point. He's done this to himself. He's going to go to another organization in 6 years. His 4th organization. At some point, I get it. He's 25. He's young. Whatever the fact may be. When you're 25 years old, you're an adult. You're being paid like an adult. Like a lot of us would love to be paid. And you're blowing it. Look, John said it a couple of weeks ago that he can end up in the Kazakhstan Hockey League basically getting paid with goat milk and a donkey. That's where he's headed. That's where he's headed. And look, Larry Brooks, as a reporter, your job is to get the facts. Your job in an interview is to get different points of view and let people judge after you present facts to them. The fact that he did not let this kid, this goalie that came out and not answer him and blocked him from Twitter makes Larry Brooks look bad. This is why this is a story that doesn't end.
Not going away. And before we move on to the Islander segment, Double A, which you will be very happy to report on, we got to pay some bills here. So, we got to pay some bills here. So, did you ever wonder how to get those ads on your phone? The ads you see on YouTube, Roku, Hulu, Apple TV, Amazon Fire, and more. How do they get on your personal devices? It's called OTT, over-the-top advertising. It goes outside the cable box and the limited advertising they can provide. And best of all, when going direct, it's half the cost. Introducing Diginary. Diginary.com. Only Dignary can go directly to the providers of your personal devices and reach them 24 hours a day. At Dignary, you choose how much you want to spend, the area you want, even drill down to the block in any town, any choice. With Dignary, you can place banners, stream videos, retarget, and have click-throughs targeting both current and potential customers, all at a fraction of limited conventional advertising costs. Target your customers with Dignary and get the most advanced direct digital platform available. Go to Dignary.com today. And let's go to AA for the Islanders. Go ahead, AA.
Right now, they're rocking and rolling right now. They're playing the type of hockey that you've come to expect from them the last 2 years. They're doing the little things. They're scoring timely goals. The offense is starting to come from other people. JG Pageau is getting hot.
That's
Brock
what
Nelson's
I'm
starting to
about.
wake up. Exactly.
JG Pageau.
He scored again tonight. The Islanders, last I heard, 2-0 lead after one in Buffalo. But JG Pageau, he's getting hot. Brock Nelson's starting to warm up. They're doing little things. Beauvillier comes back tonight. Beauvillier's in the lineup. Komarov is the guy that's set. That's
Quick
out.
update on the Island game, 2-0 after 2.
All right. So now last night against Buffalo, for the first time in their history, the Islanders held the team without a shot in the third period. Buffalo didn't have a shot on goal. Okay, that's their style of game. That's the Barry Trotz style of game. That's the game they play. They choke the middle. When they have a lead, and we've said it before in the last 2 years, this team scores 3 goals, 80% of the time they're going to win the game. Period. So right now, you're an Islander fan. You love where you are right now. They're doing exactly what you needed them to do. Right now, you can make the argument that they are the second best team in that division right now behind Boston.
And they beat Boston twice.
The only team to do it so far this year is beat Boston in regulation. The only team to do it. And
you're winning
again,
2-0 tonight, AA.
It's playing that way. It's playing that style. It's the style they play. Look, the two best things that happened to the Islanders in the last 3 years was getting Lou Lamoriello as the GM and getting Barry Trotz as the coach.
It's
that
a broken
changed,
record, but it's totally true.
But it changed everything. Look, our friend Kyle, who's a big Devil fan, and we'll give him the credit because he said it and he's right. Look what the Devils have done since Lamoriello left. Not much.
Not much.
You thought Ray Shero was the guy that was gonna turn them around, and he didn't.
Another update from the Garden: 2-1 Devils is COVID seems not to bother them that much.
Well, it seems like the Rangers scoring drought is continuing. But the Islanders right now, they're in a good spot. And I'm happy the way they are right now. They're starting to find their way. They're starting to – the biggest thing for them was getting the balance back from their scorers, from their offense, from their defense. Noah Dobson is starting to contribute a lot. They're playing well. In every aspect of the game right now, they're playing well. And the biggest thing was that Varlamov, after a week where he wasn't playing well, is starting to play well again. And that's the biggest thing. Because this is, right now, he's the number one goalie. Flat out.
They play playoff hockey every game. They choke off teams defensively. They have the good goaltending. Do they have enough scoring? And if JP Pageau, if he continues to stay hot, Anthony Beauvillier comes back tonight playing with Pageau, Wallstrom, Del Cole, all these young players, if they can provide that offense, this is an elite team. Defensively, they are an elite team. They might have the best coach, arguably the best general manager. This is a team that, do they need that extra scoring? Possible. Is it eternal? Is it going to be, do they make a trade? You have Bellows in the background right now. It's a really good time to be right now.
Mike, if they continue to win games, the question about having another scorer is not going to be a question. if they continue to win games.
Well, they,
You know,
John,
especially if they continue to win games the way they're winning.
Yeah, look, it's the thing that you have confidence as an Islander fan, which you didn't have a lot of confidence before that. But if there's a player that they want, they can get him. Last year at the trade deadline, JG Pageau was the biggest name on the trade market. And the Islanders went out and got JG Pageau.
Totally agree.
And if they get a chance to get a guy, and again, this is going to depend on who's available at the deadline. The NHL deadline is April 12th. As the goal horn goes off, the Rangers have tied the game. It's going to be interesting to see who has the goal.
So, it will be interesting.
But if there's a guy at the trade deadline, look, we've talked about some guys. Does Taylor Hall become available if Buffalo falls out of it? Is somebody in San Jose maybe? Is it Thomas Hertel? Is it Evander Kane? Those are decisions that if it comes down to the trade deadline, the Islanders can make that move. They can do it. And
appreciate it.
Thank you, Greg. We're glad that we're turning a Louisiana boy into a hockey fan. You don't see that every day. Love New Orleans, by the way. Love that city.
It's freezing down there.
Yeah, but he feels like he's at a rink. But was it Buchnevich?
Buchnevich, yeah. Buchnevich.
Whoa.
With
Pavel.
With 30 seconds.
Gregory
30
Rasputin
seconds
with the goal.
30 seconds left in the period. So,
but the Islanders right now, there's a confidence that I have as an Islander fan because of who we have at the top. Because of Lamoriello and because of Trotz, we know we're in. We have a chance. We're a contender. We're a contender this year. We are.
The Pittsburgh game was a great game, Double A, even though you lost in overtime.
Yeah.
And we have that goal that Barzell scored. And we could run that.
This was an incredible
We
goal.
could run that already.
Yep.
Barzell, Joseph the only one back. Barzell one-on-one, inside out, gets by and scores! Oh, a spectacular goal from Matt Barzell!
Great hands on that.
He's a terrific offensive player. But the biggest thing for Barzell is that as hot as he's been, the biggest thing for me, he's not taking penalties. He's drawing them.
It's down, not Barzell.
Exactly. Exactly.
It's
Is that kid all right? Sounds like a ransom nose.
Listen, Barzell is a guy that has to be the best player on the ice for them just about every night. And he makes moves like that. That goal was sick. Now, we ended up losing the game in overtime.
Theo Joseph lost his shock on that play.
But look, we ended up losing the game, but that shows you that Trotz got through to him because he was frustrating the first week or two of the season.
Oh, yeah.
And they had a conversation with him. Trotz benched him because he had to make him realize you have to draw penalties, not take them. And he's doing that now.
Exactly.
And look what he's done the last few games. He's on a point scoring streak. He has the second highest point scoring streak since Josh Bailey in 2017-2018 with 11 games. This kid is hot with the way they're playing right now. And I said it a couple of weeks ago, I'll say it again. As long as they have that scoring balance where they're not so top heavy, that makes them a tougher out. That makes them a tough team to play. And to me, you're an Islander fan right now. You love what's going on. You love it.
Being tough to play against is a big thing in this league. And the Islanders are tough to play against. Boston's tough to play against. You know, there's teams that are tough to play against. And that's the bottom line here in the new NHL.
You know, Tampa, for as skillful as they are, they have the tough guys. You know, Coleman from Jersey, who is just a wonderful player. The Islanders match up with all those teams. Do they have the scoring? That's the key.
You're going to see how it goes as it goes along, because I think they're solid everywhere. Well, everywhere else, they get the guys to score. Look, Villiers coming back is kind of like getting a guy in a trade right now because he's been out for so long. But now you have Villiers back, and I'm very interested. And it's paid dividends already tonight. I would love to see that line of Villiers, Pajal, and Wallstrom develop. Listen, Wallstrom's played well. They're all playing well. Mike and I talked about it before. Michael Dow Cole resurrected his career. He was a top 5 pick and was becoming one of the biggest busts they ever had. Now that title belongs to Josh Hosang, but that's a totally other different story. Okay. Michael Dow Cole, who was a scorer in juniors, has come up and he's become that grit guy. That guy in that second line. He's playing so well right now that Villiers was put with Pajot. When Villiers coming back would automatically been put back with Nelson. And look what he has going on right now. This is when you have a coach that you know is 90% of the time is pushing the right button. And Barry Trotz has forgot about more hockey than the three of us combined will ever know. And I think we're 3 guys that pretty much know what we're talking about.
And Theo, Capitals 100%.
Yeah.
I mean, 34 shots in 2 periods today. They're better than coming.
Well, Washington got angry the other day. That's the biggest thing.
That's their Achilles heel.
Well, listen, we could talk about it more as we go around the league, but there's going to be some movement at the trade deadline, and I think you're going to see some big names moved at that point. I do.
Well, coming up for the Islanders, you got Pittsburgh Thursday, at Pittsburgh Saturday, home Monday against the Sabres again. The Rangers coming up, they're at Philly Thursday, and they're at Washington Saturday. So it doesn't get any easier for us, Mike. It really doesn't. So
they're not a really good team right now.
I'm sure Tuesday night there'll be more rocks to throw and more stuff to talk about. Let's move on around the league real quick, Mike. So give us a couple of things going on with the COVID and who's been restricted lately, because there's been a couple of games postponed here again.
Well, the Dallas game was postponed today, not because of COVID, but because of weather.
Yep.
You know, the middle of our country is experiencing an Arctic freeze. So the COVID situation got a little better. The Sabres are back. The Devils are back. The Colorado Avalanche came back last week. So still a long way from being termed good. But as far as COVID goes, you know, not a bad week for the NHL.
And you really got it, like we were saying before last week about the regulations in Canada. I think here in the U.S. we have to be just as strict as the Canadians are. We really do.
You know,
So
good point, John. But I don't see that happening, unfortunately.
But look, you have to take the positive out of it right now, because you do have teams coming back. Now, is it still flawed? Yes. And is it something that we have to keep an eye on every week on the show? Unfortunately, we do. And hopefully it gets better. You saw what the league did today, releasing part of the second half schedule with so many games that are moving around.
They rescheduled 29 games, including the Rangers Washington on Sunday that got moved to March.
yes, there's a lot of games being moved around. A lot of games being moved around. To the point where after February 23rd, the Rangers are going to play 39 games in 73 days. So
That's a playoff schedule. You're playing every other night.
that's a lot. That's a lot of games.
They should be able to deal with that, to be quite frank about it.
Some of the schedule problems I had, the Blues and Coyotes basically played a 7-game series.
7 in a row.
They played each other 7 straight times because there was no one else they could play. So the league is trying to adjust, but we're not out of the woods yet.
I kind of like this though. I like the way the divisions are set up. I like that there's a lot of rivalries building. This Florida-Tampa Bay rivalry, man, is that good? Those good games to watch.
Florida's been good.
You guys saw any of them. Florida's been good. Tough to play against.
Been real good.
It's been unnecessary but good byproduct of having having the divisions the way they are. Every game's a rivalry game. That's wonderful. Makes for great
It's
hockey.
great.
St. Louis and
does.
Arizona played 7 straight games. That's not great, but it was necessary.
But they had to do something though.
Gotta get the game. You can have 45 games in 73 days. That's impossible. 39 is pretty tough. But you have to be able to stagger it a little bit.
It's funny that we brought up the Coyotes, because the Coyotes.
That's where we're going next, Double A.
That the Coyotes right now. This was, if some people have missed it, it seems. I mean, Mike knows a little bit better about it than I do. But basically, the gist is that this owner in Arizona, I think his last name is. I think it's Mielo, whatever his name is. They can't pay their bills. And the NHL gambled on Arizona. This was Gary Bettman's baby. He rolled the dice with this, and it's coming up. It's coming up snake eyes. But the question I have, if you read the article, they couldn't pay bonuses on time. They couldn't pay vendors. They couldn't pay the staff. They couldn't pay the people that worked in the arena. So the question that I have is the thing that bothers me is that, okay, if you're having money problems, okay, but it seems like more that this guy's just a douche. You don't pay your vendor, and then you sit down with the vendor and you get them to take a lesser amount. Is that because the guy's broke, or he's just a douche?
Yeah. What do you know, Mike?
Well, Katie Strang, the article today, essentially the owner, Mr. Morello, insists on being called that. Essentially runs a shitty workplace, for lack of a better term. Very
oh boy,
a lot of control, a lot of anger, and a lot of gets mad at employees who give him financial projections. As Anthony said, basically shaking down vendors to accept less money for services rendered. That's something you do when you're a freaking deli on 3rd Avenue and you got a bunch of illegals working for you. That's not what an NHL team does. Yeah. Also, not paying players bonuses. Now, the NHL Players Association was going to file a grievance, and then the owner coughed up the money. This is not an owner who can afford it. This is an owner that does not want to pay it. And that's a very bad precedent to set. There are agreements in place.
And you see Bettman stepping in and the league stepping in.
And yes, this is Gary Bettman's baby. Gary Bettman has saved Arizona's ass on more than a couple of occasions here, including paying the bills for the previous owners of the Coyotes. Also, the Arizona Coyote Arena, which is going to be a partnership, Arizona State backed out of it because they didn't want to be in business with the Arizona Coyotes. Think about that for a second. A college backs out of a deal with a professional franchise because they don't trust the way the professional franchise is running the show. I mean, I don't know what more needs to be said.
And also to back up what Mike just said, Arizona State is a top hockey program. This isn't a small school.
No.
The state of Arizona has become a hockey hotbed. That's where Austin Matthews came from. And Arizona State, who's a ranked team. And for them to turn around and say, we don't want to do any business with this guy. So what does the league do now? Because you also had the GM last year that left and got suspended for a year. The last Arizona GM, the kid that looked like he was a 16-year-old.
John Choi.
Yeah, he looked like he was a 16-year-old movie usher. But he gets suspended. So what the hell's going on in Arizona? I mean, what I get from the article, and look, this might be another story that we have to stay on top of.
About moving forward.
It's definitely something we have to keep our eye on, because this might be another one of those stories that you start finding out little by little by little by little.
Bottom line
Yeah.
is they need to move. It's not working as a professional franchise in Arizona. Hockey doesn't work everywhere. Didn't work in Atlanta. They tried twice. Go to a place where a hockey team will succeed.
Hello, Quebec.
I don't know about you guys, but I'm ready for Le Nordique to come back.
Go to Portland, Oregon.
So do I.
Go to Kansas City, Missouri. Go to Houston, Texas. There are places to go.
Yeah, there are hotbeds around, Mike.
But Arizona's not one. And, it's ironic because the college team is so successful that you would think a decently managed professional team would thrive in Arizona. But they can't get the friggin' management to work. Doesn't make it's a sad commentary.
It's a problem. And that's right now the league. That's a problem the league does not need. They got enough trouble right now trying to get a TV contract for next year. They're losing money. They don't need an owner right now that it's not just it's not that he can't afford to pay it. He doesn't want to pay it. There were people in his staff that were comparing him to the owner in Tampa Bay. And he got angry at that. Dude,
Yep.
you should want to be the owner in Tampa Bay. Because guess what hockey's working? In Tampa Bay. In Florida.
Yeah.
To back up
It's
our
true.
friend in Louisiana that we're turning into a hockey fan. You know what? Put a team in New Orleans. I would go.
Exactly.
We love hockey and we're huge fans.
Real,
But the NHL is in trouble.
Yeah. I mean, they'll be fine in the long run, but they got to
Real
get through
quick,
this
guys.
right now.
a few more minutes left, real quick. Connor McDavid is going to be the third active NHL player to score 500 points in fewer than 400 games. So that's an interesting stat right there.
He's a terrific
With
player.
Mr. McDavid, and a terrific player. And real quick, we want to wish a happy birthday to one of my favorite players when I was a kid. And you guys will.
John, 1 second. Chris, the reason why MJ didn't get a coaching opportunity, he didn't really want one. He tried to build skating rinks in New York, and the deal fell through when de Blasio became mayor.
Yeah.
He would have been a great coach, in my opinion, but he didn't want the gig.
John, who do you want to wish happy birthday to?
Uh-oh.
Oh, all I see is John and a frozen face.
John is frozen. Apparently, Ringo got him.
He's frozen. Oh,
So
and then
now
there were two.
it's me and you. Uh-oh.
Oh, God. We have to close it besides John?
I think we have to close it today.
Well, listen. John always likes to pull out.
John got eaten by
He got the dinosaur.
Oh my God.
It's Doogie
my
the
God.
dinosaur.
Oh my God.
Doogie the dinosaur. But maybe it was Ron Duguay you wanted to wish a happy birthday to. I don't know.
No idea.
But anyway, on behalf of John, who usually takes us out, I know he wants to say thank you for listening. Mike, you want to have anything?
Thanks for watching, everybody. We didn't kill John. He'll be back next week. I promise.
And for all three of us, we want to thank you all for listening as usual. And a big shout out to our producer, Joe, who
Absolutely.
is not feeling well and did a bang up job tonight, making us sound good and making us look good. As usual, love you, mean it. And we'll see you guys next week. Take care.
Get well soon, Joe.